Let's work on getting the tension setting dialed in perfectly for when you embroider on the Singer SE9180. We're doing lots of free video tutorials, and you can check out all of them that are hanging out in a playlist in the description below, so you can start at the beginning, watch them all the way through. And just a reminder, make sure you're clicking like on every video you watch. That helps our channel greatly. Okay, so we actually have just finished a video of everything you need to know to embroider from start to finish. So getting it all set up, picking your design, stitching it out, just things along the way that I always tell my students to do. But here, let's just talk about tension. So normally, your tension is probably set somewhere around 4 or 5 when you got the machine. So that is going to be for stitching with a straight stitch, 2 layers of fabric, and you want the stitches to be balanced, so you really can't tell which side of the fabric you stitched on. But when it comes to embroidery, if we have it balanced, sometimes what we get is some of the bobbin thread showing on the top of our fabric. And well, that usually doesn't look great because it's often white. Just use white bobbin thread all the time, that's great. But what we want is that the stitches are going to look smoother if they can actually be rounded and pulled to the back side. So instead of them being even, we want the bobbin thread to be tighter. Now, we don't change the bobbin thread tension, but what we can do is make the top thread looser. So kind of like a scale, we can kind of detract from one and it makes the other one less. So by going to a lower number, so I was down around 2.5, and as we started stitching, everything started to get nice and nicely satin stitched, nice and rounded. But here is the proof. When we flip it over, you should see some of the color that you used on the top on the back. And what we have here is a slight little kind of channel of white bobbin in between these, the color. So that means that there's plenty of color coming to the back. That means there's no bobbin thread coming up to the top. Now, I do have a solution for you for what happens if you get done and you realize, oh, there's some white parts or bobbin thread showing through. But what you want is kind of a happy medium. You want some color and you want some white bobbin thread. So if you find that you have all color and no bobbin thread when you flip it over, and that's why we always tell you to test a design. So those of you who are newer to embroidery, take the time before you stitch on anything, do a sample stitch out. You're testing tension, you're testing, do I have the right amount of stabilizer? Do I like the colors I picked? Is it going to look good on my fabric? Is if there's too much, you went down too far. So you're going to kind of find somewhere between 2 and 3 is probably going to be great for this. Now, what happens if you see a little white thread? I have been known to just restart a color. So if it happens at the beginning, it's probably on your first color. You can just back up and stitch that color from the beginning to cover up what was not perfect when you started. And nobody's going to know, and especially you might not even be able to see it when you're done, is that you're double stitched. And it will just cover it up. You won't have to do anything, just double stitch it. And you can stop. You don't have to do that whole area. You can just kind of cover it up, stop it, and then kind of go on. It's okay. Now, the other thing that I've also done is if I get it out and go, oh shoot, there's a little something there, I have been known to have a fabric marker that is the same or similar color to what I was stitching, and I will just kind of color in my thread and nobody will know. And if you don't tell anybody, they won't know either. So that's the secret. Okay, so there is ways. You don't have to throw it out. You don't have to, I mean, starting over is great because you can just overlap a few stitches. Don't be afraid of that at all. It might sound a little thicker, like your needle's punching through it. Well, it is. It's already been stitching over areas that have already got thread in it. So the sound, if it's a little louder, it's okay. It's not doing anything bad to your embroidery machine, but you might kind of hear a little extra punch to the machine. So tension, no bobbin thread on top. If you still see it, reduce it down to a smaller number yet, and it should look good going forward. Now, if you get all the way down to 0 because you aren't getting the results you're after, it's time to have your machine serviced. So just take it into any local sewing machine store. It doesn't have to be a Singer store. A lot of Bernina, Brother, Baby Lock, Viking, Pfaff stores have service departments, and they will be able to kind of go back and not only clean, oil, adjust, but put all those tensions back to normal. It's like getting your car tuned up. So if tensions are kind of they were better when you got the machine, and it's been a couple years now, which by the way, have your machine serviced once a year, you will notice it will run so much smoother by having an annual service, and those tensions won't get so wonky when you're switching between embroidery tension and sewing tension. I hope this has helped. Make sure again, you click those like buttons every time you watch a video. Check out all of our free videos we have and our online courses. They're going to be listed below, and there's always free videos you can watch in those courses to see if that course might be right for you. I hope to see you in one of our online courses soon.